So today we're going to be doing a service on the R33 Skyline. I've got everything I need here. I've got oil filter, plugs, fuel filter. I've got oil down at the garage. It doesn't look like the oil's been changed within the last few years at least. So hopefully everything comes off the way it's meant to. But yeah, I've got a feeling that something's not going to go as smoothly as I hope. So yeah, let's go down to the garage now and make a start. Yeah, engine in it is RB20e, so it's a single cam 2 litre engine. Yeah, I do plan on changing this engine out at some point, but at the moment I kind of just want it running nicely. I don't want it to break down on me, so I'm going to give it a good service, just hopefully make it a little bit more dependable and less worrying to drive. Like I say, the oil in it hasn't been changed in a really long time. You can probably see there it's pretty dark. It's not really bad, but it doesn't look like it's been done in a while. So I'm going to start off by jacking the car up, and we'll drop the oil out first, leave the oil draining for a while we do the plugs and the filter to try and get as much oil out as possible. Just got to my garage and there's like a random bird just chilling out down in the corner. I don't know what it's doing. It's just having a little bit of a sleep. It's fat as hell. It doesn't seem bothered by me much at all. Oh, it's off. I've got the car jacked up, I've got an axle stand under it. Some plugs actually is on that side. I was going to jack both sides up, but I can actually get under it as it is now. And with it being tilted and the sump plug on that side, it'll actually get a little bit more oil out. So I'm going to try and get it out with it jacked up like that. Last time I did a service on my Mazda 3 MPS, I cracked the oil bucket, so I can't use the oil bucket. So if you don't have an oil bucket yourself, a good way to do it is get like an old screen wash or an oil bottle or something, and then just cut the side out on it, and you can drain straight into it. And it's really good if you want, like I drain mine into a bigger drum like down there, and when you want to pour it out you can just undo the top and pour it out like a bottle. So quite a good way of doing it. I'm just gonna chuck that under there, and then this sump plug is 14, you need a 14mm socket for, and just crack it off. Probably gonna mess this up with me having the camera in my hand as well, but oh, no, I'm not sure if this tub's going to be big enough for all the oil, so I'm going to just wait here and make sure it doesn't overflow. It's good to have gloves for this as well, because it's a messy job, or have a rag at hand at least. I'll tell you what, I'm going to just plug that back in, empty the tub, and then we'll yeah, drain the rest out, and then I can just leave it draining that way. Yeah, I'm just going to empty this out. I'm going to put the camera down just so I don't get oil all over the camera, and then yeah, I'll drain the rest out and then we'll pick it back up there. So I've emptied the oil and then just put the tray back under and pull the plug back out. I'm just leaving it drain in for as long as I can to try and get as much of the oil out as possible, and then oil filter is underneath the intake manifold. I don't know if you can see there, that blue bit is the oil filter. What I did was crack it off with these plumber's grips. I've already cracked them off, but as you can see it's a bit tight to get down there. Yeah, so if you've got an oil filter wrench, it'll probably be easier. I don't actually own one, but yeah, an oil filter wrench will go on the end of a socket and go through here, so it'll be a lot easier to get if you've got one of those. But I've just used the pliers, so I've just cracked it off, and then just wind it off the rest of the way with your hand. There we go. So that's the filter. You just want to make sure, if you just clean the top off, there's a little black ring here. That's the rubber O-ring for sealing it to stop any oil coming out. Just make sure that's come off with the filter. If it hasn't come off with the filter, it'll be stuck to the block, so just make sure you pull it off, because otherwise when you wind your other filter on, it won't seal properly and it'll leak oil. So yeah, that's just one thing to make sure you do when you take the oil filter off. I'm just going to grab the other oil filter now and we'll stick the new oil filter back on. You just want to make sure that they look the same before you stick them on. If you're trying to stick the wrong one on, you can damage the threads and stuff, so yeah, just make sure that they look pretty similar, which they do. I bought all my surfacing parts from Conceptua Tuning. I'll stick a link to their eBay store down below. They have a website as well, but I just ordered it off eBay. I just find it easier ordering it on eBay when I'm on my phone. So I got an oil filter plugs, fuel filter. They didn't have them at Euro Car Parts, or they couldn't figure out which ones were meant to fit it because of the registrations. Conceptua have them all listed for the RB20e already, and yeah, so I'll leave a link to them down below. I've used them before for parts for my old S13. Yeah, they're bang on service every time. They've been going for years, so yeah, really reliable company. Yeah, highly recommend them. So yeah, I'm just going to stick this filter on now, and you just want to wind it on hand tight, really. Some people say to put oil around the seal, but I never do. It's there's always a little bit of oil left on there anyway, so yeah, so just wind it on hand tight like that. And you know, get it tight, and then just tighten it up as tight as you can with your hand. There we go. So that's oil filter on. I'm gonna keep leaving the oil draining out at the moment because I want to try and get as much out as possible. So while we're waiting for that to drain out, we'll do the fuel filter next. So with the fuel filter, there is just a Jubilee clip on each end of it. So you just want to undo those. They're on the old style screw ones, so I'm probably going to struggle to do this with just one hand. But yeah, there is a Jubilee clip. Let's see if I can get the camera down there so you can see better. But yeah, Jubilee clip here on the top, and then the same again on the bottom. It might be a bit too dark to pick it up down there, but yeah, it's another Jubilee clip here as well. So yeah, just one on top, one on bottom. You just want to make sure the face is nowhere near this when you take the clips and the pipes off, just because there'll still be fuel pressure in the line. Yeah, just be careful with that. The other way to do it is if you might struggle to get it off fiddling around down there. The other way you can do it if you want is undo it up here where it's a bit easier to get to, and then undo it at the bottom off the solid fuel line, so you've got a bit more to pull against. Take it out with that, with both the fuel lines attached, which is probably what I'm going to do. And then it's just easier. You can take the whole fuel filter out with the lines on, and then try and get the lines off the filter out of the car. It just gives you a bit more room to play with, rather than faffing around down there trying to get to everything. So yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take them off with the lines on. It just might make life a bit easier, and it'll make it easier for me to show you how they're attached as well. So yeah, I'm going to do that. Pick it up once I've got it out. I've got the clip off, but the pipe's a bit tight on the metal, so the best thing to do is just get a set of pliers and just twist the pipe. It breaks the seal. You can see there that the fuel's just started coming out, and this is a bit you don't want to be looking at the pipe, because there's a chance it might spray in your face. So just either look away and make sure you're not looking at it, or put some goggles on or something, because if it gets in your eye, it stings like mad. I know from experience from changing a fuel tank, and the fuel splashed out in my face once. So I've got the pipes off both ends, and then the fuel filter literally is just clipped. It just pushes in. So it's just in a little clip. So you want to just pull that out. There's a cable tie around there as well. But yeah, it just clips into that little thing there. So you just spread that apart, and it will just pop out. So I'll just pull it out now. That's the fuel filter out. As you can see, I've taken it off at the ends of the pipes instead. The reason I've done that is because they're solid metal pipes on the ends, and when you twist they don't move, whereas the fuel filter does. What happens is the pipes dry up because they've got fuel in them. They just, yeah, they seize on, they get stuck, especially if it hasn't been changed for a long time. So what I've done is basically taken it all out just so it's easier to get to. I'm just going to undo these clips either side of the fuel filter now. That way I can grab the filter and grab the pipe and twist it and pull at the same time. It's just easier to do it out here than it is to try and do it down the side of there. So I'm just gonna pop those off now. That's the old filter off, and as you can see, the new filter is a lot bigger. That is because I went for the high flow fuel filter instead of the normal one. You can see it's quite a lot bigger, but it does actually still fit in the bracket if you stretch it like that. So yeah, it does actually still fit in there. I would have really struggled to get the bottom one off without taking it out with the fuel lines, because the screw head had started to round off a little bit. Yeah, it was just really tight on there, so I had to like wiggle it around quite a bit to get it off. But it was loads easier doing it that way. I think I would have either knackered the Jubilee clip and got it stuck, and had to cut it off or something. So yeah, it did make life a lot easier. Obviously you won't have to do that if it's serviced regularly. It'll probably come off quite easy, but because I don't think that's been off for a while, it was quite seized on. So now I've just got to put the pipes back on the same way. I'm just going to put them on without the clips, and then I can twist the pipes around to fit where they're meant to fit, and then tighten them all back up and attach them at the other ends. And just make sure your fuel filter's facing the right way. It's usually this lipped end is the outlet end, so that's your fuel line coming in from the bottom, and that's your fuel line going out to your fuel rail. So just make sure you got it the right way around. I'm gonna pop the lines back on this, and then we'll get it back in the car. That is the fuel filter back on. Yeah, all clipped up back down here as well, and then back end clips up here. I've managed to get the cable tie back around it as well. Yeah, like you can see, it's a lot bigger, but it's meant to be like that. I will stick a link to all the stuff that I'm using down in the description down below, so if you've got an RB20e that you need to service as well and you want to get bits for it, then you can do that. So next up is basically we're going to just do the spark plugs. So easiest way to do this is just do one at a time so that you don't get the leads mixed up. They are actually numbered on these, so it's difficult to get them mixed up, but just in case you just want a spark plug socket, and then yeah, just do one at a time. It's probably the best way to do it. I don't think those have been changed for a bit. Well, they're not too bad, but yeah, that is the plugs. Yeah, just going to change one at a time, so I'm just going to get the new plugs now, and then we'll drop a new one back in it. So again, same with the filters, is just make sure that they're the same before you put them back in. Like, you just want to make sure that the thread length is the same, because if they go too far in, it can cause real bad damage. They are the same. That one of it, the old one obviously looks a little bit different because it is an iridium plug, whereas the new ones are just normal. I didn't realise it had iridium plugs in it, but it doesn't matter too much, so we're just gonna stick the new plugs back in now, and just do one at a time. Before you start trying to tighten it up with the ratchet, just get it started with your fingers, just to stop you from cross threading it. You want to get like a couple of turns with your fingers first, just to make sure it's in right, because if you strip these, it's major work. You're probably going to end up having to take the head off to re-thread the holes, so just be careful with it. Make sure that you've got them started with your fingers first. If you can turn them in with your fingers like 3 turns, you're pretty safe. So yeah, just get them started with your fingers first before you start trying to tighten them up with the ratchet. So I've done 1 and 2. I'm just going to do the back ones now, just because they're the easier ones to get to. You can get straight down. Then after that, we're going to have to do the 2 under here. I'm not sure, I've not seen anyone actually do these before. I'm guessing we'll probably have to take that pipe off to get to them a bit easier. I'll do these 2 and then we'll pick it back up when I'm doing those 2 under the pipe. With number 3 and 4, like I said, that throttle body is right above it, but you can actually get into it with like a universal jointed socket. I think that's what they're called, or like I just call them a wobbly socket. But yeah, I've just got like the extension on there so that I can get a bit of an angle, and it does actually go in there like that. So that is the way to do it. If you don't have one of those sockets, you're probably gonna have to take the throttle body off, but yeah, most socket sets come with those sockets. I actually just use the Halford advanced socket set all the time. I do have snap-on tools, but to be honest, they're not worth using because I just use this all the time. They've got lifetime guarantee, they're super cheap, and then if something breaks, you can just literally go to Halford's and get a replacement for it straight away, rather than having to wait for the snap-on van to come around. So I just use these all the time. But yeah, great socket set if you're wanting to like get into mechanics, and you just want a basic toolkit. The Halford's kit pretty much comes with most stuff that you need. So yeah, good socket set. I'm just gonna get these out now, and then we'll crack on, finish off the oil change. Yeah, we don't have air filter to do obviously because I've got apexy filter on it, so I'm not going to bother servicing that because I actually have all the pipe work coming for me to make an intake for it. So but yeah, you'll be able to figure out the air filter yourself if you're going to do it yourself. It is literally just a box with 4 clips. I think it's 4 clips. It's been, I can't remember, but yeah, just clips, and then you just take the filter out and put a new one in. It takes 2 minutes, if that. So I'm just going to pop the other 2 spark plugs out, and then we'll finish off the oil change and get it back up and running. So that was the number 3 one that I just used that wobbly socket on, and it was an absolute nightmare to get out. It's really tight. Don't think it's been done in a while, and you can see there it's actually got 2 washers on it, so it will have been sat further out than it was meant to. Basically that is the washer off the old spark plug, and somebody's not taken it out last time they've changed them. So it's got 2 washers on there. I think that is what was making it tight because it was so squashed. It was struggling to come out, so it's a good job we changed them. So I'm going to stick a fresh one in there now, and then we'll attack number 4, and hopefully number 4 isn't the same, because they're a bit of a nightmare to get to. The ones under the throttle body, they're not the easiest to get to. So all spark plugs back in. Yeah, like I said, for this one, for number 3 and number 4 down there as well, you want to use that wobbly extension thing. They were a lot more of a pain in the arse to get out than they should have been because they've not been changed for so long. These ones were just really tight, and obviously they had the washers left in them as well, which didn't help. But yeah, all of them were quite tight. So it is a lot easier when your car's regularly serviced because everything just comes out the way it's meant to, and it would have been easier as well with the fuel filter because the fuel filter would have come off properly. I've got a new magnetic sump plug to go in. I'll stick a link to that in the description down below. So I'm just going to chuck the sump plug back in. As you can see, there's still oil coming out, but I can't wait here all day for it to drain. So there you go. Yeah, what that magnetic sump plug does, basically it's got a little magnet on the end of it, and if there's any loose metal shavings or anything, it stops them from, well, it catches them basically, so it doesn't do any damage to your engine. So yeah, they're a really good idea. Yeah, and a few quid and you've got to buy a new washer for your sump plug anyway, so by the time you bought the washer and everything, you may as well just buy the sump plug. That's what I always do. I just stick a new magnetic one in every time I change the oil. So yeah, that's on. We'll just drop it back down so it's flat, and yeah, stick some oil back in it. So I've got sump plug back in, I've got the car back on all 4 wheels. I'm gonna stick oil back in it. I'm not sure exactly how much these take because there isn't a lot of info on them online, so I know it's going to take at least 4 litres, so I'm going to chuck this whole 4 litres in, and then I've got another 4 litre tub, and I'll just gradually top it up and keep checking the oil level. So I've just chucked 4 litres in. I thought it would take a lot more than 4 litres, but it seems to be bang on the mark at 4 litres. Obviously, because I've left it draining for so long, all the oil galleries and the oil filter are going to be empty. So what I'm going to do is just run it now, and then that'll fill up all the oil galleries and the oil, and then check oil level again after running it for a few seconds. If it needs topping up, we'll top it up. You just want to, before you run it, just make sure there's nothing like pouring out underneath. Yeah, and then just run it, and obviously check it's not leaking when you run in as well, because there'll be more oil pressure in it once you start the engine. So just make sure it's not leaking when it's running. If it's leaking, it's either coming from your oil filter or your sump plug, so it'll be easy to narrow down if you've done something wrong. But yeah, let's just fire it up. So you can see now how it's about halfway up the dipstick. It was actually a little bit above the maximum mark before I ran it, so yeah, it's filled up the oil filter and all the galleries again. So probably wants like another ½ litre in there just to top it up. So it's going to take about 4.5 litres altogether. So I'm just going to top it up now, and then we're good to go. So that is all the oil topped back up. It's pretty much bang on the mark. I've put about 4.3 litres in it. I thought it would actually take a lot more than that, but yeah, you learn something every day. And like I said, there's not a lot of information about the RB20e online, obviously, because most people just rip them out. I think it's about 4.3 litres, but yeah, best thing to do is just top it up slowly and keep checking it. Yeah, I've topped mine up now. I'm gonna chuck the rest of the oil in the back of the boot and drive it for a few miles and check the oil level again, just to make sure it's right. And yeah, that's it for the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give it a like, and if you found it helpful, make sure you share it with some people that might find it helpful too, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.